Hello, this is Lisa, and I am so excited you're joining me for another Assemble This video. Today's technique is all about creating your own watercolor stamped pattern paper. Plus, I'll show you how to create 4 poinsettia themed holiday cards from the stamp design. You'll want to use a stamp set with a solid design for this technique, and I'm excited to be using a new release from Unity Stamp Company to get ready for the holiday season. I have my supplies ready to go. I'm going to start out by prepping my ink. I have 3 colors of distress inks, and I'm just smushing them onto a slick surface. This is a piece of cardstock that I've laminated, but you can use a craft mat or your glass mat, whatever has a slick surface, and then spritz on a good amount of water. I'm using a full sheet of watercolor paper. This is 8.5 by 11 Fabriano watercolor paper. And the stamp set I'm using is called Painted Poinsettias. And it has 2 different sized leaves or petals in the stamp set, and I grabbed the larger one and I just picked up that wet ink and started stamping all over my watercolor paper. This is a large design, so I am keeping quite a bit of white space between each stamped flower, but you could, switch it up, do whatever you want and make your design your own. Next, I grabbed the smaller leaves that have this bit of a splatter to it, and I'm going to directly apply the ink to this stamp and then stamp on top of that watercolor image. I didn't want watercolor on watercolor because this particular stamp didn't stay as crisp, and I wanted that top leaf to really pop against the background of the watercolor. And then once I was done stamping all my flowers, I just took all that leftover ink and I created a bunch of splatters against the background. Kind of really adds to that watercolor look, and it fills in that white space for our pattern paper. This stamp set also has a bit of a splatter to it, and I like the control of using that stamp to fill in the white areas with green. I wanted to mimic the look of leaves, so I did that with the splatters. So I'm just filling in the space between all those flowers, picking up again kind of wet ink from my palette in 2 different colors of green, and then just filling in all those areas. And last, I'm going to add the berries to the center of the flowers, and I'm just using wild honey. For a different type of shine and iridescent look, I grabbed some Nouveau drops in bright gold, squeezed it out onto a block, and then added some water and just mixed that up really well. And then I'm going to paint that over all the leaves on the poinsettias. And it just created this really cool iridescent look. It did pick up a bit of the color, so it turned pink, but I ended up really liking that look. And then when I was done, I just added all the leftovers with splatters over the top as well. And here's a close-up look at that iridescent shine. Just turned out really pretty. Once I was done and these were all completely dried, I cut my sheet of paper into quarters. That way I will get 4 cards out of 1 sheet of stamped watercolor paper. And then I just use a rectangular die to pick out the best patterns from each of those 4 panels. As I was picking the placement, I was also thinking about the sentiment that I was going to be adding as well. For the sentiment, I'm using the Greetings of the Season dies from Unity Stamp Company, and I die cut it out of the center of some foil cardstock. I'm going to be covering the base of my card front with this foiled cardstock, and I wanted the sentiment to match, and I didn't want to waste paper, so I just cut out the center using the die cut, and then I'm going to be covering that up with some pattern paper. I added a mat to all the die cut watercolor stamped paper, and then I'm just popping that up on my card front at a bit of an angle. I still wanted to see some of that pattern paper behind it. And then I'm just going to glue down all my pretty gold foil sentiments that I die cut from that foil that's covering the background of the card. I'm just going to use a ruler here to make sure that my sentiments are lined up straight as possible. And then don't forget the eye that's in this die. And I just popped that down there. For an added bit of fun, I decided to stamp on the inside of my card as well. Took that smaller flower stamp and then did a light color and then stamped the Merry Christmas in this stamp set as well. And here is the set of 4 finished cards assembled from the one piece of stamped watercolor pattern paper. I love that watercolor look of the poinsettia design, and then the bit of iridescent shine from that Nuva wash. I'm definitely going to try that again. I kept things simple with a bit of pattern paper and even stamped a decorated sentiment on the inside. The gold shine from the background and the die-cut holiday sentiments just finish everything off perfectly. I'll have all the supplies linked in the description of this video on my Dahlhouse Designs YouTube channel and blog. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you enjoyed it. Plus, if you have any questions or sweet comment, post below. Thank you so much for creating with me. I hope you're inspired and have a wonderful day. Bye.